I was terrible at school. I never managed to go to university. But I started working for another film composer. And what happened, literally on day one, I am in the room. My job is to make coffee. But I'm in a room with Nick Rogue, who I adore as a director, and Stanley Myers, who I adored as a composer. And they're talking about the scene, and there's a real life problem. How are we going to score the scene? As opposed to what I experienced at school, which is somebody tells you some historical incident that then got solved. So the most important part of the mentorship was not only was I in the room with a problem that had not been solved, and I was witnessing how this problem in front of my eyes got solved by Stanley going, oh, what about those notes? And Nick going, that's exactly it. But just being in a room with people who were the best at what they did. And in a funny way, I thought everybody should have the right to this. It's like, so I try to make this place very, this is a big room. I mean, when it's not full of Dark Knight synth, there's actually a lot of room in here. And I think something really good happens if you can be, it's your first day, you're here to make coffee, but you're in the room with Chris Nolan and Hans Zimmer, and you're seeing them scratching their head. And somehow, even if you don't open your mouth, just by your presence, you're part of the solution. Or at least you get to see it. So it's just a different school, and I think this is an endless conversation, which, I think our education system, even though it's interesting, is based on some industrial revolution ideas of, how the world's going to work. And the world works very differently. I mean, you look from, when I started, people were cutting on Steenbecks and Chems, and then they got the Avid. And the interesting thing about us sound guys is, because sound is slightly more easy to handle in large quantities of data than images, we've always been ahead of the image guys. I mean, of the film guys. So we've made all those mistakes with digital, and we didn't know. The old digital recordings sound bad, and it wasn't just the technology. We didn't know how to use it, and part of that is just you have to put your hours in. I'm a real believer in that thing. It's 10,000 hours to get good at something. And and the other thing is the technology is changing so rapidly, but it's changing in the right way. I really do think. I mean, it's back to look at you guys with your two Canon cameras. You're shooting film. I don't know what, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this would have been impossible. It would have been impossible for somebody. Well, okay, so you just ran out.
This one.
Yeah, okay, but the idea, you can go and make a movie on this thing, and so now it's back to the simple thing: do you have the ideas or don't you have the ideas? Do you have a story to tell or not a story to tell? And I think that's really exciting.